People were interested in coming and finding the body, and people are getting to the area. There's some DNA, there's some doctors involved, there's some universities, there's studies.
All I know is that whatever it is that's behind the tree is moving closer and closer. My screen goes red and I fall back, and then we hear running.
And this thing stands up, bro. That's when we realized it was a Bigfoot.
And then I got this guy like Mike Green. It's like, let's kill one. Then he's shooting does constantly, hanging them up in trees and strapping like pipe bombs to them, these bombs that are like that big.
In 2010, Justin Smeja shot and killed 2 Sasquatch creatures. In the previous episode, I discussed at length Justin's story and the immediate aftermath.
And we actually spent probably 8 hours looking through that area where he had said that they had placed the small one under a bush to no avail. We looked very hard and found nothing.
That initial research expedition was only the tip of the iceberg. During that 2011 research trip, Justin would meet several people who would be involved in some way with the public perception of his story. Bart Cutino hit it off with Justin really well, and they became friends and are still friends years later. And Bart has often been a staunch supporter of Justin. Derrick Randles, on the other hand, was optimistic about Justin's story at first, but quickly became a major skeptic, and most of that has to do with Justin's relationship with Wally Hersom.
When I arranged the initial expedition, and I also, probably the first person I reached out to was Wally Hersom, who is the benefactor of the Olympic project and a very dear friend of mine, and told him what was going on, and Wally said, well, hell, I'm coming. So he got in his RV with his significant other Jade, and here they come. And that was very fitting and very cool. I wanted Wally to be there just in case we found something that was groundbreaking. You know, if we'd have found the little one or a significant portion of the little one, it could have been everything in the Bigfoot world. So I wanted Wally to be there and to be involved. So I just invited him up and told him what was going on.
He was essentially our benefactor for BFRO, became a personal friend. When I really started getting heavily involved in the field, I think Wally and I met about 2006. He started coming on the expeditions at that time. Even though the technology was more in its infancy with thermal, it was pretty pricey, you know, at the time. So he really helped supply a lot of us. He was a big proponent of the subject.
I'll say that in the beginning, I was hook, line, and sinker. And the reason I was hook, line, and sinker with him is because the story he came up with, what he articulated to me over the phone, the first time I talked to him, I thought was such an impossible story. It was just nothing you would expect to hear from a witness. It was crazy. The way he saw the large one, it held its arms up like it was being held up, and then the babies showed up speaking gibberish, and then he ended up killing one of those. Just the whole thing was, it was just hard enough to believe that it almost had a feeling of being true. But it's like, who in the hell would go to this length to make this up, risking prosecution from possibly poaching, hunting an area that he shouldn't have been, shooting something he didn't identify? He had a lot on the line. And then given the fact that when I first started talking to him, he didn't want to talk to me. He wasn't forthright with information. He really didn't want to talk to me on the phone. I kind of had to persuade him. And then I actually, in time, I had to persuade him with a little bit of money to pay fuel. You know, he didn't have much money to go back up to the site and look for evidence. And I was thinking, okay, if somebody's gonna bullshit me, if somebody's gonna pull my leg, why go to this length? It was just such a far stretch, his story. After that, and after talking to him at length, I actually pretty much believed him. To the point to where I invested resources, put together an expedition, and tried to necessitate the effort for quite a while. The red flags came later. There's been a concerted effort, or there was a concerted effort, to possibly dispatch of one of these creatures. And I know that some guns, some things were wanted to be acquired by this group to try to dispatch a Sasquatch. And I feel like my friend was taken advantage of a little bit. Maybe some of the asks that were happening to make this effort happen. And then a couple interviews I've heard, and maybe just my gut. But I'll tell you straight up, at this point, I think Justin's full of shit. I don't believe him. I've got to the point where I don't believe anything in this whole story, to be honest. Now, I'm not the authority on this. I'm not anybody's anybody. But if you're gonna ask me my opinion, I think he's full of shit. I don't think it ever happened.
As Derrick's perception of Justin soured over the years, Justin's story began to take off in the Bigfoot community. The first mainstream breaking of the story I've found is from a June 27, 2011 blog article by Robert Lindsay. Lindsay was a prominent journalist who published well-written, long-form blogs on his personal blog site. While the site is no longer up, it was operational for many years and covered a variety of topics, not just Sasquatch. What Lindsay's interest in the Sasquatch subject was, I'm not entirely sure. But he did break Justin's story first, in the summer of 2011, in a blog post titled, New Erickson Project News, Bigfoot DNA Project Using 2 Dead Bigfoot Bodies for Samples. In this article, he interviews an anonymous bear hunter, who I believe is actually Ken Walker. In the article, they discuss the 2011 research expedition, and, more interestingly, the sample that Justin recovered 5 weeks after the Sierra kills, which was then processed by Melba Ketchum as part of her DNA study. This is something I plan on discussing in detail in a later episode, but for now, I want to focus on the attention that Justin's story attracted. This post by Robert Lindsay began to attract a lot of attention, and other blogs like Bigfoot Evidence began to spread the story even further.
When things really started to blow up, then Bobo was on Jimmy Kimmel. He says, oh, my friend shot a couple of them, just so you know. Then from there, that seemed to have like an impact on the story, and it seemed to like get bigger and bigger and bigger. But there was a lot of things. It wasn't one thing. People were interested in coming and finding the body, and people are getting to the area. There's some DNA, there's some doctors involved, there's some universities, there's studies. Like, it wasn't just like some guy said he shot something. There was substance and meat behind it.
As the story spread, it soon reached a Southern California filmmaker's ear.
I'm Ro Sahebi. I'm a filmmaker and content creator. At least I used to be. I've since moved on. For the context of this piece, that was my primary job, my only job at the time. How did I find out about Justin? Justin, I first heard about through a friend of mine, Sean Evidence. Sean, I believe to this day, still runs his website, Bigfoot Evidence. So Sean and I had been talking for a bit. We were both content creators. I was getting a lot of traction on my films, and he told me that I should talk to this guy, Justin. There's some chatter going on in these message boards about a guy who shot a Bigfoot, and there's a potential DNA study happening. The very next day after he mentioned it, Justin just happened to be in Southern California, called him up, said, come to my house, let's have a beer and chat.
So when I met Ro for the first time, I was in LA. And he had sent me a message. Somehow we got in contact with, and he was like, hey, you're in LA, why don't you come over let's just hang out. I just want to do a quick interview with you. And I said, oh, I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, sure, you buy the beer. So we got some Bud Light, we sat down in his kitchen, and we just talked. Then after that, like that night, everything changed for us. Like Ro was like, you're serious. Like, it seems like there's something to this. Like, you have these doctors and you have these DNA studies and you have like all these people involved with your story. How did you get them here? And then after like us hanging out, then he's like, oh, I don't know if I believe you, but I have to go there and see it. And that's where it started.
I really like Justin a lot. You know, my initial thoughts on him were like, this guy's country. This guy, he may be born and raised in Cali, but this boy is country. He knew his hunting, he knew his outdoors. When he talked about being in the woods, he was as authentic as it could be. I really enjoyed my time, all my time chatting with him, but he's a very likable guy. And immediately, I knew that after my first interview with him, we released that film, I knew there was a lot more. And he and I became pretty good friends for a long time.
Ro Sahebi went on to make 2 films about Justin Smeja, the first titled I Killed Bigfoot, and the second, Dead Bigfoot. They both feature intense interviews and scrutiny of Justin's story. At this present moment, both films are available to watch on YouTube for free. However, as a filmmaker myself, I wanted to know why Ro had an interest in telling Justin's story. Obviously, the story itself is exciting, and at that time, potentially very lucrative. But when meeting Ro and hearing his attitude on Justin, he didn't strike me as a person interested in it solely for financial gain.
I made a film about Justin because it was really interesting subject matter. My goal at the time was to make a film. I was busy learning the ropes of YouTube, content creation, social media. My ultimate goal was to somehow monetize those efforts. When I came across Justin and the story, we started talking on camera. It was just supposed to be another internet clip. We ended up talking for a good 70+ minutes on camera. I cut it down to a 60-minute documentary, the first documentary, and the rest is history. After that, you know, I couldn't help it. I was into the story. The world was into the story. You know, it had gotten mentioned on Joe Rogan Experience and things like that. My network grew exponentially after I dropped that film. My incoming calls accelerated. So I knew we weren't done. We were gonna make more content, and I was gonna make a much bigger and better movie, which led me to the second film, Dead Bigfoot.
So with me and Ro, we sat down and we had this conversation. And he just posted it. He didn't really edit nothing or whatever. It was just me and him sitting in the kitchen talking about what happened. And then the reaction that we got out of that and everything, like people were like, well, when are you going? What's gonna happen? Like, what's next? So we need more. We need you to finish this, because Ro was like, this sounds interesting. I guess I believe Justin, like, or I don't know. I have to go there. I have to see it. So we end up just hanging out and kind of like doing some stuff together. Ro keeps driving up from LA because he like got the bite. He got like the tick. He got like the thing that's like, there's something to this. And he got that from like me and him hanging out and him seeing like just what I was going through with everything. But we ended up building a real good friendship.
Ro's second film, Dead Bigfoot, expanded the scope of Justin's story. Whereas his first film is comprised of a conversation between Ro and Justin in a kitchen, Dead Bigfoot featured the only interview with Justin's partner, and even Bart Cutino.
So I met Ro Sahebi. He'd reached out because he was doing the Dead Bigfoot movie. He knew I was, involved a little bit at that point, and had gone up on the initial visit with Dr. Meldrum and John Mayachinsky and everybody to come and examine the site and initially interview him.
Bart and I first met in a restaurant at the famous sardine factory in Monterey. He and I had chatted on the phone. I was calling around, as you do as a documentary filmmaker. You want to get as many opinions and you want to get as many stories as possible. Bart had a great story about when he first met Justin and his partner, the driver, and knew for a fact that they were telling the truth.
People forget that it's not just Justin Smeja. There was also a third party there, second party with him that day, a hunting friend, and I knew him very well. And they had come down to visit me. I'm from Monterey, California, and we were on one of my father's properties in Cannery Row, and I took them out. And we were having some food and some drinks on the deck there, and I know that area very well, so I kind of pulled a fast one on the guys and I eavesdropped on them, just to be brutally honest. And what I heard really surprised me. They were casually talking, about visiting, coming down to Monterey, the hotel room we got and everything, and they were just casually also talking about that day. So it would be equivalent to, myself and someone else that, we did a hoax, we think that we're alone, no one's listening in on us. And so why are we BSing each other on that fact? They're just casually talking about events of that day, not the actual shooting, but just events of that day. It was subtle, but I heard enough in that situation that I knew that this was probably legit.
The conversation Bart overheard between Justin and his hunting partner may have been convincing enough for Bart. Yet for anyone who wasn't there, it requires a great amount of trust in Bart's word. However, it was Ro and Bart who came up with a plan to find a resolution to this issue by giving Justin a polygraph test.
There was a first polygraph test not on film. Like, apparently Justin was telling me, oh, he was with his friend. They're like, you're full of shit. He's like, no, I'm not. I swear to God. He's like, well, his friend was a cop. They went into the station. They did a polygraph test, and he passed the test. He's like, I'll do that again on camera. I don't care. I didn't know if that actually happened or not because we were just kind of buzzed and chatting. It's like, well, I'm going to set it up. After that, I looked around for a very credible source for that, and I thought it was an important piece to the film and to the storyline. So that was the thing that I was going to build around.
The polygraph test came together really quickly. Matter of fact, so quickly that Ro actually called me the night before and told me, I had to move the appointment, and the appointment's actually tomorrow. And you were going to write the questions, and I'm at my sister-in-law's getting ready to sit down for dinner. So my wife wasn't very happy about that. But I took a couple hours, and have a criminology background, and was able to phrase the questions, and I made that test about as difficult as could be. And it was impressive. We got the questions. It's about 25 questions, and it was designed actually to trip him up, not to substantiate him. He was going to have to do that on his own. And to his credit, he did.
Well, I just polygraph tested Justin Smeja on a situation where he claims to have shot a bipedal primate and a juvenile bipedal primate in the mountains. And I tested him on questioning him whether to the truth of the matter, and he completely passed every question. The charts will be given to prove the accuracy and the results of the test, that he completely passed and is telling the truth about shooting a bipedal primate.
A lot of people discredit it because it's easy to beat a polygraph test, okay? To beat a polygraph test, you only have to get like a 60%, okay? Everybody talks about, I can beat a polygraph test. Justin got a 98%. And when I talked to another Navy SEAL, a guy who wished to remain nameless, who was with us, when you practice for interrogation, I asked him, how do you get a 98%? And he's like, you tell the truth. That was his straight answer. So anyone can beat a polygraph test. Anybody can learn to get an 80, 85%, which is convincing, not convincing enough. That's why polygraph is usually thrown out. But to get a 98%, you have to be a sociopath or you have to tell the truth. So make of that what you will.
Justin's passing score on the polygraph is impressive. But this is not the only polygraph test he has taken. Justin would later go on to take more polygraph tests for various media outlets and achieved passing scores there also.
So a lot of people want to know about the polygraphs, and when they hear it, then they're always disappointed to know that I passed 3 of them. So I've taken 3 polygraphs, and each one I had a perfect score on. No deception whatsoever. And if you know me, I'm kind of like an anxious guy, and I'm always nervous, and I'm not the person that would be able to pull something like that off. I'm not a good liar. And I would think a good conclusion from that would be, I definitely believe what I'm saying. And I'm not so smart that I'm a psychopath that can clench his ass or something and pass it.
One of the many factors that plays into the authenticity of Justin's story is that it did not happen in a vacuum. As more and more people began to visit the Sierra Kills site, more Sasquatch-related events occurred.
You know, we still had everything that was going on in the background with the tissue and the Melba Ketchum situation, and her coming up with this paper that was going to eventually come out and hopefully prove that the shooting event was legitimate. And so we were almost on a daily contact in regards to that, but not on the research end. And that all changed when we set up to do Polygraph. And what ended up happening in that situation, Justin successfully took the polygraph test. He a little bit trying to celebrate. He took a few folks up here in San, as well as Ro and a few others, and they didn't know if they were going to stay the night or not. They came up, showed him the site. Ro interviewed him at the exact shooting site. And they also did, just playing around, had done, you know, a couple knocks, had banged on trees a little bit. I was back home in Monterey, and I get text messages starting at about 2, 3 in the morning.
So there's an area that we ended up having actually a lot more activity than the kill site, and we kind of try to keep it on the down low, and some people know about it. And it's called Camp B. It's like Plan B, like, so if the kill site doesn't work out, then you go to Plan B, you go to Camp B.
Justin said, I got this spot, it's a hot spot, let's go out there. We went down this dark road. Turns out we took the long way there. And it was such a creepy, dark road, and Sean Evidence and I were following these 2 guys into the woods. These guys were armed, they're woodsmen. One guy is an ex-military sniper, didn't like us very much. Sean and I are 2 blogger geeks following them, going, what the f are we doing? We're just following these guys into the middle of nowhere and just hoping everything goes well. And we get to the site and we set up, and it's as normal as can be. And then we start hearing some knocking sounds. I'm saying, you know, everyone says porcupines, this and that. But the knocking sounds are aggressive knocking sounds, and they're getting closer. So we bust up the thermal, and I start walking towards a small heat signature that starts coming closer from behind the tree. I can't really make out what it is, but I see something move a little bit closer. Now I can't make out a shape. I just see a little heat signature, and it moves behind the tree. I can't tell how close it is. Thermal imaging, especially then, this is 10 years ago at this point in time, thermal imaging wasn't the greatest source for resolution, okay, and detail. But whatever was happening, now we start hearing very distinct chimp sounds, which I thought was wild. I heard, like, yeah, elk make sounds like this on occasion, things like that. So I'm all processing all this stuff. All I know is that whatever it is that's behind the tree is moving closer and closer. And I can't make out a full signature. Then before I know it, my whole thermal screen, I'm sitting here like this, just locked in, goes red like something was standing right in front of me. I can hear something walking, I can hear, and my screen goes red and I fall back, and then we hear running, and Justin gets up, he's got his gun, we're all listening, and something starts running a circle around our camp in the middle of the night. It's making chimp sounds. It started with knocking. I couldn't see anything. And I'll never say that I saw a Sasquatch, but I saw something on that heat signature, and I heard weird shit, and it spooked us all, and it really happened. I really wish those thermal imagers were a lot better than they are, because all I got was just a flash of red because something was standing directly in front of it. That was my first time where I said, okay, there is something crazy and wild going on here. I'm not going to say what it is. I know what we all want it to be, and it probably is something of that nature. But I never saw it. I heard it. I felt its presence. I heard it run. I heard it make sounds, and it was pretty memorable night. It's a pretty memorable night.
So before all of this, what were your thoughts on Sasquatch?
Oh, I love the whole lore. I love the possibility. To me, I think if you live life by textbooks, you know, how boring is that, you know? I love the idea of being wrong. I love the idea of exploring. I love the idea of discovery, you know? So I think it's an important romantic idea, whether it's Sasquatch or whatever it is that you're into. I got into it because I love the paranormal. I love odd, freaky news. I love movies about the occult. You know, I'm cut and paste, and just like all the guys that you probably come across doing this.
So how did your experience at Creepy Camp or Site B change that? Did it make it more real for you?
I was already making this documentary about Justin regardless. I had started, I was committed. It was an easy subject to cover, so I was in no matter what. The thing that I always argued with, not argued, but discussed with Sean Evidence after that night was like, he always said it was nothing, and I say maybe it was nothing. Are you in denial? It's like, I don't know. I think he thinks somebody was just hoaxing us, which is very possible too. We were brought to that site, right? So I never let go of that possibility. But what I will say is that after that night, it definitely made me feel like we can get a much bigger story here than I thought possible. And we just kept getting better and better footage after that. If anything, what I saw in Justin that night was like real excitement. Like it was like validating for Justin after that night. He was like, I told you. There was real satisfaction with Justin and like a nervous excitement. I was like, okay, this guy is for real. Yeah. Whatever happened to him, whatever he shot, whatever he did, something definitely happened there. No one can deny that.
I wanted to prove what had happened to me, yeah. And that's what started my interest in Bigfoot, is after the shooting. And to me, it was like hunting or fishing. Like, it's not something you can do all the time, but you're gonna figure out when it's good, and then you're gonna try to learn about him, and then you're gonna try to figure out how to be successful at Bigfooting, whatever that might mean. Maybe you want a dead one, maybe you want a picture, I don't know.
Following the release of Ro's second film, Justin and Ro soon found themselves diving deeper into the Bigfoot world by signing on to the show $10 Million Bigfoot Bounty on Spike TV.
I had such a fun time on the $10 million Bigfoot Bounty. I thought it was great. It was a lot of cool people. It was a fun show, a cool idea. It was neat.
Bigfoot Bounty and that whole experience of doing the Spike TV show was kind of ridiculous. They changed the format of what it was supposed to be. You can't really go out and get things done with a camera crew following you into the woods. I enjoyed the experience. It was a nice cherry on top for the whole ride that Justin and I were on together. Cool, yeah, we're on a show with Superman, with Dean Cain, you know. We were in every single episode, you know. It was drama getting there, but we always knew we had the network told us up front, you guys have a spot locked. What I can tell everybody now that nobody else knows, we were the highest paid cast members. Justin and I got extra checks that nobody else got. So we ended up making almost as much as Stacy and his partner. They got a $50,000 check bonus, but after taxes, well, whatever. It's really not a ton of money, right? So at the end of the day, it was a good experience. The product that came out was kind of shoddy. They were just following format television. I don't regret it one bit, but I just thought the whole experience was a little silly and poorly done. But yeah, it's a cool little portfolio piece, I guess.
Made a lot of great friends in the show, a lot of fantastic people out there. I like Stacy Brown and Michael Merchant and everyone else involved.
It was on this show that Justin met Stacy Brown Jr. for the first time.
So the first time I met Stacy was in a hotel in LA, and we were at like a casting sort of a thing. And I was like, just walked up to him, hugged him, hey, what's up, cuz? Like, it was just like, you could tell from the beginning, like, okay, cool, we're good, we're the same people, we're the same sort of whatever. I mean, I think I'm a little bit better than him, but he's an interesting guy, and he's got a good future ahead of him.
You know, when I first met Justin, he kind of struck me as an odd character, not much different than myself. But he knew he had the story. He knew he was going to be on the show. I was in the same boat, you know. We kind of did what we wanted to. There was a whole bunch of strict rules when we were in Los Angeles. But you could see Justin's wheels were turning, you know. He really wanted that money. So I don't know if that was really the best situation for a first impression that you would want from somebody. He almost seemed like a schemer, you know what I mean? As for his story, you know, I thought it was a load of shit, to be honest with you. Sure, bud, you shot a Bigfoot. You shot a baby Bigfoot on top of that, and you didn't carry it out of the woods. I can promise you this, had I had a Bigfoot stuffed behind the seat of my truck, there wouldn't have been no DNR officer, FWC, whatever you want to call them, that would have took that from me. You know, it'd have been one of them things of, you know, hey, you want to go home tonight, bud? You have the biggest discovery the last 100 years, easily, you know, and you didn't take it with you. So that was really my first impression of his story, you know, before I got to know him. I thought it was a load of shit, you know. I thought he was just somebody who was looking to catch some kind of fame for whatever reason. It never struck me as a sane thing to do, to want to be involved in Bigfoot, you know what I'm saying? For all the shit that I've caught from everybody that I've spoken to, told my story to about 100 times, you know. Why in the hell would anybody want that? Just so you can get on television, they pay you a few $1,000s? You know, fuck all that. I liked hanging out with him. I don't know if at the time I would have said we were friends, because we had a goal in mind. That being friends with Justin Smeja wasn't one of them.
Knowing both of them, I can see why they would hit it off. So it's not surprising that shortly after the show ended, Stacy ended up in the Sierras alongside Justin.
So I'm gonna do a video today, Tim Fasano style, but instead of the taxi, we'll be inside my BMW. So, Bigfoot weekend just happened. Really fun time, you know, got to meet a bunch of good people, go to the Sierras, see the kill site and all that stuff. You know, had a blast. You know, something happened that was like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I guess not once-in-a-lifetime, I've had other stuff happen. But, yeah, it's really cool, and I want to talk about it. But, you Bigfoot community drive me insane. I don't know what your problem is. With the thermal footage, I held on to it too long, you know, you're withholding information, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, the last deal comes out, I give the information right as I get it. You know, not leading nobody on, get the results and put them out there as quick as I get them. And I'm wrong for doing that, because I should have held the information until I had the results. Which one is it?
So I'm going to tell you the most epic Bigfoot story that you've never heard. So after I had won the show Bigfoot Bounty, I got invited out to do a expedition with Bigfoot evidence. They were putting on like a BFRO type trip. You know, you pay $400 you to come, you meet Stacy Brown and Justin Smeja, the guy that killed Bigfoot, you know, the guy that just won the show. So we flew out to Sacramento.
And I posted on Facebook. At the time, Megan Fox was saying that she wanted to get into Bigfoot hunting, and she said it on Twitter. And I was just in a Facebook group, and so I posted that, hey, I'm gonna pick up Megan Fox from the airport, I'll see you guys here. And I'm talking to like all these people that I invited in this Facebook group to go to the Sierras. It was just a joke, right?
At the time, Megan Fox had said that she was gonna find Bigfoot. She would be the one, you know, which was crazy. But, you know, I didn't think much about it. Just picked me up at the airport in his old van. We rode up to the mountain, you know, and a couple days, maybe 1-2 days go by. We're meeting everybody, you know. There's a huge fire, right? And there was a burn ban, you know, whatever. We had a huge fire anyways.
Yeah, and I see a fishing game truck coming down the road, and it's fishing game, Bureau of Land Management, the sheriffs, the police department, like.
And when I tell you there were 40 police officers on top of that mountain, I mean, there were 30 or 40 cops there.
And they seem to have like, they got like their hair cut, and they're like, the teeth are all shined, and like, I'm like, huh, and they're like walking around like badasses with their machine guns. I was like, what are you guys here for? Well, you guys don't have a permit to camp. I'm like, we don't need a, okay.
And they absolutely gave us the business in, first of all, for the fire. Second of all, they just searched everybody's tents. They gave me a real hard time. You're from Florida, what are you doing out here? Yada, yada, you know? And while all this is going on, they tell us, they're like, yo, do you realize that guy over there's got a gun? And we're like, normally it wouldn't be a big deal that the guy over there has a gun, right? The only issue about it is that that guy had just told the cops that he had seen 400 Bigfoot were around us right at that moment, you know? So the crazy guy's got a gun, and while the cops are lecturing Justin, Stacy dips, right? Stacy don't hang around when the police are there.
So we get everybody, and they line up every single person there. Like, all right, we're missing a couple people. I know there's more people here. And so they're talking to me like, Justin, where's the other people at? And I'm like, who are you talking about? And you're like, you said on Facebook that Megan Fox was going to be here. Where's Megan Fox at? I'm like, oh, you guys showed up at this Bigfoot expedition. This is like the sheriffs and Fish and Game. They all show up there and they're like, we're looking for Megan Fox. It's like, guys, no, it was a message. Megan Fox is not here. Like, I'm telling them, I'm like, she was never going to be here. That was a message. Why are you guys reading my messages and then showing up here? What's going on? And they say, well, so Megan Fox is not here. Like, no, she's not here. So they end up like really mad that Megan Fox isn't there. So they put me in handcuffs and then they drive me up the road and just drop me off in the woods.
With the handcuffs still on?
No, they took the handcuffs off. They took the handcuffs off. But I don't know, like, why wouldn't they drive me back to, I don't know. There was lots of questions.
As wild as that experience was, it did not dissuade Justin, Stacy, and a few others from staying a few more nights in the area.
We went through it all. Justin had, told his story to everybody. We squatched with the visitors for a couple of nights.
And we're all done. I'm sitting at Bassett Station with 3 different people. And I'm like, all right, we're all gonna go home. And Stacy says, how about we just go back for one more night? Now that everybody's gone, let's go back for one more night. And I was like, all right, but if we go back, we're going to a different spot. Let's try to like get close to the kill site, but not too close. And let's try something different tonight.
We were walking down this old road. We had seen some bears, right? And so Justin's crazy as hell, right? I'm crazy as hell too. So I'm not saying that in a negative light for him. He's just like me. But there were some bears, and Justin's like, yo, if we run at these bears and bark, they'll run up a tree. And it was a mama and her cubs. And so we did. We run down this hill, and we're these bears ran up the tree. Well, mama only went about halfway up the tree, and she came back down, and then she took off. And they say bears don't like roar or growl or whatever, but they're liars. They'd never had an encounter with a bear. This bear run probably about 40 yards and then realized she left her cubs, stood up, and then come hauling ass at us. And Justin was a bigger guy then, right? And he's out there in cowboy boots, barely pull up his pants, he ain't got the sleeves on, looks like Larry the Cable Guy out there Bigfooting, right? And I'm a good dude, so I'm not trying to leave Justin. And had that bear got close, I would have left Justin. The bear was massive, bro. But the bear stops right about the tree. And anyways, I'm like, bro, you crazy, dog. We laughed about it, yada, yada. And then we were continuing to walk down this road. And there was a thermal signature in the tree. And we're like, yo, if that's a bear cub, let's go get some thermal footage of it. And so we walked, and there was kind of like a little game trail that kind of made this motion. So we're walking around it. Now, as we're walking to it, there's like a field, right? There's some bushes in it. I can't remember what he called them. They're about 4 foot or so. And then it gets into what looks to be planted pines, right? And there's like a brush line right along that boundary. So we turn that little trail, and we're walking, and I'm messing, getting my thermal camera ready, not looking ahead of me. I'm just walking. Justin's behind me. And he goes, bear, 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 and grabs me by the backpack and pulls me backwards. And as he's pulling me, I'm like stepping back, right? And this thing stands up, bro. And I just remember the silhouette of it. Like, I don't know if it blocked out the sun or the sun was hitting it from behind, but it was just like silhouette. And I still thought it was a bear, right? We run back to that logging road, right? This thing runs the opposite way, but it takes off over this field, and it's just tearing through it. And we're standing there watching it, and that's when we realized it was a Bigfoot. It's running, his arms are swinging. I'm like never seen one in the daytime, so I'm looking at it with my eyes, not looking at it through the camera as I should have been. This thing leaps across the road, did not touch the road. And then down the side of this mountain that I promise you, had we run that speed down that hill, we'd both died. We were excited, so ecstatic, you know what I mean? I'm like, bro, I got the best footage. I play back. While I'm looking at it with my eyes, I'm filming the ground. You know what I'm saying? It was stupid. We probably didn't talk for a while. We ended up following where it went, and you couldn't really, follow no tracks or nothing like that. It was all torn down. There was all these down trees and stuff. I don't know how it went down that hill, but it just sounded like somebody just driving a truck. And then down there at the end of the mountain, there was like a cave, a big rock structure in a cave, and it just smelled like cat urine, so strong. Justin's like, yo, there's a cougar in there. We're not gonna go in there. And then just a sheer cliff just dropped off, bro. So we headed back to camp, not really talking. I was so upset with myself. I just won Bigfoot Bounty, you know what I mean? I had a $100,000 research grant to work with. I was killing it, I was supposed to be this, that, and the other, and I missed it. Justin didn't say much to me. I know he was disappointed because that was a validation, and I fucked that up. We went back to camp. He went and locked himself in his van, It was really a sad moment. A sad moment for both of us.
Initially, Justin didn't come across as divisive. It was very, he's always been very friendly to me, but I think over time, you get encapsulated, in all of this. Everybody, there's a celebrity tint to it, if you will. And then, everyone wants to, he's doing interview after interview, and you're with people who are constantly trying to size you up, especially if something, this did in fact happen. It's got to be very, frustrating to not be believed. It's understandable, but without physical evidence making such a big claim, he was swimming upstream constantly.
So during all this time, you have like the kill site, the Sierras, like it started to really get there was a lot of people that had some sightings. There wasn't just a couple. It wasn't just what you hear about on Facebook. There's like a lot of stuff that happens in real life here. A lot of people came, and the amount of people that would say that they saw a Bigfoot with me is probably close to a dozen. Of just normal people in the community. Some people don't even want anyone to know that they saw one with me. That seems strange. So there's people that I could say their name and every person would know, and they will say that they saw one, but they're friends with Justin, and I guess that's not, I'm not sure. I don't know. You can make it with your own. Yeah. Meanwhile, I got all these other Bigfooters that are like, hey, I want to take you out to dinner. And then they'll come out to Sacramento, they'll take me out to dinner, and they'll be like, I want to ask you not to kill one. I just want to have an agreement between me and you and God that you won't kill another one because we know that you're trying. So I have these conversations in my ear. And then I got this guy like Mike Green. It's like, let's fucking kill one. And he knows a little bit about this, and he's not dumb, and he's smart, and he's been around, and he's like a military guy. And I'm like, all right. But things got a little out of hand hanging out with Mike. I mean, it went real, they got really out of hand.
Sasquatch researcher Mike Green is most known for his squeaky thermal, which he filmed in 2009. In 2014, he published a book titled Sasquatch for Sale: Death, DNA, and Duplicity. In this lengthy book, he covers a variety of topics ranging from the Olympic Project, the BFRO, and of course the Sierra Kills. There are 3 chapters dedicated to the Sierra Kills that cover every ounce of the story, and even includes a transcript of Justin's polygraph test seen in Ro's film, Dead Bigfoot. For any casual reader, Green seems to be on the up and up. But as we'll see, he managed to leave out plenty of details about his time with Justin.
He met with me, so he really wanted the sample originally. And this was a person that had seen greed. This is like 2012, 13. This is early on. He had like just got a squeaky thermal, and he was like, had this bloodlust, this thirst. And he met with me. We go out to dinner. He sits me down and he's like ordering nice stuff and like whatever. And I'm ordering the most expensive thing on the menu because like he's like supposed to wine and dine me. This Bigfoot, he flew just to have this dinner with me. Then this man says to me, this Mike Green, he says, "I'm going to make you more famous than Jesus Christ." Then once he said that, then I just checked out mentally. Then he said it like 7 more times over the course of the evening. He explained to me why I would be more famous than Jesus Christ. Why would you even put those words together? And then he tried to explain that when it's proven that you're the one that killed it, this is going to be the biggest story ever, and your name will be spoken in America, in every country, just like Jesus Christ. So he thought that somehow I would want it like that? I don't know. I don't want attention like that. So we were going to kill one. That's fine. We were going to kill Sasquatch. We came back. Let's prove it. But then by the end of it, then he's shooting does constantly. So we're shooting deer, hanging them up in trees and strapping like pipe bombs to them. These bombs that are like that big. And not a bomb that can like blow up a car, like a bomb that can blow up like a 7-Eleven. Like these huge pipe bombs. He built them right here in the Sierras. So he would take these bombs and he blew up one with me. Like he wanted me to show me how it was. And so he blows it up and it like shook the earth. I've been around shooting 50 cals and tanks and stuff like that. This was a big bomb. And he's like, this is what we need. So his idea was we just have to get the Bigfoot close. And then we just set the bomb off and then we can spend all day looking for a part and we'll find like a hand or a skull. And I'm like, you know what? It's not the worst idea. As long as we're only gonna kill it, if we're only talking about one individual, then let's do it. He's shooting deer that are not in season. He's not even eating them, and he's hanging them up in trees and covering them in peanut butter. So where I had to draw the line myself is he takes a deer, he shoots it, which is, I don't like any poaching. It makes me sick. Like, you need to follow the rules, and you need to, I just don't like it. Hunters have like a certain code of ethics, and it's like you better have tags for it, and you don't shoot does, not in California. So this guy shoots a couple does. I think he shot 3 does that day. Then he took a bomb, like this pipe bomb, and put it in it and covered it in peanut butter. Then he tells me this, and I'm just like, oh my God, Mike, what did you do? Then I'm like, I need to see this. I need to see it for myself. I mean, I'd seen the bombs, but like I was already like backtracking. I was trying to make sure he didn't hurt anybody. I didn't have anything to do with building this shit. Like this individual was very determined to see this through. No, nobody was gonna stop him. So he goes to take me to it and he can't find it. He can't find where he just finished putting this bomb, and it's like designated, it's live, it's got a tripwire on it. And he's like, oh, it's over here, it's over this hill. Oh, it's over this hill. He's like, I knew I should have marked it on the GPS, damn it. So we spent all day looking for this bomb, and then I'm like, all right, okay. So I end up just walking away. I take my phone and I look, because we're camping together. We're like in this like sort of thing, but then like the bombs come. So I just walk away. I just walk down the road. He doesn't know that I'm leaving. I get to cell reception and I call the feds and I call Fish and Game and I call the police department. I was like, here's what's going on. There's this guy here. You got to come here and you got to stop him. And so they come up here. Mike takes my vehicle. He stole it. We're in the woods. And he drives it to the airport or wherever, then flies out of here as Fish and Game's getting here. So Fish and Game gets here and I'm like, all right, I'll take you to the deer. I'll show you. So I show him the dead deer. And they're like, holy shit. Like, I was like, yeah, you need to stop this man. And but they're like, all right, well, let's talk about Megan Fox. I'm like, what the f does that have to do with these bombs? And they're like, so it seemed like they were still mad about that. And they're like, I don't know. And I was like the constant that was coming up. They were like hearing about this, and it just seemed, so they end up putting a tracking device on my vehicle, and they get like these warrants and they start this investigation to follow me around for, I'm not sure what they're investigating. So then at work, for some reason, the feds come in and raid my work. And they got their machine guns again. It happens to be the same warden. And he comes in and raids my business in Sacramento. They got a bunch of machine guns and all this shit. They freeze my bank account, which had $45,000 in it. So they freeze that. They just freeze it. I don't get that back. And they say like, well, why do you have this money? Why do you have this? Why do you have that? And They come in, they raid my house, like literally like 40 law enforcement officers in like 10 different trucks. And he said that they spent like $300,000 on trying to prosecute me for, I don't know, Bigfoot research. They said it was for, I don't know, it was just made up things. So they spent all this money and they're in my house. They got me handcuffed and they were testing every single little piece of steak and every piece of fish and everything because I said that I had a piece of a Sasquatch in my freezer. Yes. That's not the reason that they were there that day per se, but these guys are sitting there taking selfies with me. Like I'm in my handcuffs, I'm cuffed to my ankles, by the way, for 6 hours. And they're sitting there taking pictures with me. They're like, yeah, I got the Bigfoot expert, haha, idiot. Like they were saying stuff like that to me. When my arresting warden, when they're putting me in the solitary confinement in the jail, then they tell him, just so you know, this guy is gonna have this whole prison wrapped around his finger. He's a real psychopath. He's really f***ed up. Like he controls thousands of people with his words. That's what he does right now. So you need to know that. You need to put him in the worst place in this prison. That's all being said right in front of me as they're booking me for something I didn't even do. So right now, if you Google my name, then it will look like, you should read that whole article. So I was proven innocent of everything. They had all these charges. They had 94 pages of discovery of false accusations. They say that I shot a bear and didn't tag it, which wasn't true. I was all found innocent of that. I was proven innocent of every single charge. I pled guilty to falsifying a government document, a misdemeanor. And I didn't do anything wrong in the first place. It was just a bunch of made up stuff because they're mad about the Megan Fox thing. They're mad about the bombs. In the middle of this, my house burns. Mysteriously, my house burns down. I lose everything. Mysteriously, my house burns down. 5 days after my house burns down or something, I'm talking to the Fish and Game Commissioner and they're trying to decide if they're like going to do charges or they're going to do this or that or what angle they're going to take or if they're willing to drop it because I keep saying like, I didn't do this. Like, and the Fish and Game Commissioner says like, yeah, and your house just burned down. Like, I can't believe it, man. Like, you know, because they've been watching me, they've been arresting me, they've been like all this stuff. And they're like, and keep in mind, before this all happened, my reputation's perfect. I'm known as a hunter with a good reputation. And the Fish and Game Commissioner, I'm talking to him on the phone, and he says, if you want your life to get better, you have to stop talking about Bigfoot. You have to stop this stuff. Your life's never going to get better unless you stop this. And that day, I had unfriended every person in the Bigfoot world or unfollowed them online, took every phone number out of my phone. And I haven't really talked about Bigfoot since then, much. Like I might do a podcast if somebody's really nice or something, or I feel bad not wanting it. But it became a point to where if I keep doing this, then it's going to hurt my family if I keep doing this Sasquatch research, doing this Bigfoot research. Everything from the bank account, from getting robbed, from, I mean, there was just different things that kept happening. And there's people saying, if you just stop talking about Bigfoot, your life will get better. Since then, I guess it has. I mean, I don't know. Like, I still do research, I just don't talk about it, and I try to avoid everybody. And I won't even call people back in the Bigfoot world or anything like that. I mean, they won. Like, cool, I won't talk about this.
After everything, Justin understandably took a long break from his personal quest to find Bigfoot. With such a forcible attempt to silence him, I was a bit dumbfounded that he was talking to me now.
It's been a long time since I've been involved in the Bigfoot group, or even it's been a long time since I've actually even talked about like Bigfoot in any way. I don't talk about it in my normal course of life. What I hope happens next is somebody hits one with a car tomorrow in Florida or Washington or Oregon or California, and then I don't know. They'll still come here. I think I've said some things that would really hurt some people that I care about if they were fully filmed. The pro-kill thing, like people get so weird about that, and I'm so disconnected from the community that I would say all that, but 5 years ago, I would realize how offensive that is to so many people. I mean, so many people took me out to dinner and it was always just like, don't kill anymore, it's so messed up. These people were telling me that they have a relationship with these things. Law enforcement officers and park rangers and people that think that they're like habituating them, like legitimate people. What I hope happens next is that Bigfoot is proven to be real and a body would be the best way. A body that comes from natural causes or poison or a bomb or a bullet. It would be great if it came soon. And I guess that doesn't sound great, but I think other people feel how I'm feeling, and I'm just saying it in a way that other people wouldn't say out loud.
I think that's all he's wanted to have his vindication, and he put his money and his hunting time where his mouth was, and actually came out here for months at a time. You know, he's got at the time especially, a very young family, and those are his priorities, hunting and fishing, and he shelved all of that to try to come out and get evidence to substantiate and vindicate himself. And I always thought that said a lot.
Sometimes it's a hard thing to say to some people, because you know that no matter what you say, it's not going to make a difference. Whatever happened to Justin, 100% happened. I wasn't there. I don't know if they were Sasquatches. I don't know if it was a man in a suit. I don't know what. But Justin is telling the truth. Justin experienced something, and Justin is a stand-up guy. So I have my version of the story, and it'll always just be a story, unfortunately, because it didn't happen to me. But do I believe Justin? I absolutely do. I don't think I could have told the story better if I didn't. It would have been a much different story. I think I would have been closed off to possibilities, and I think a lot of the footage that we did end up getting and a lot of the narrative that we were able to create was because I was supporting him in his truth. I didn't start off that way. He won me over. So is the story biased? Yes, by the end it is. By the end it is. But it didn't start off that way. He had to win me over.
What won you over?
Justin's character. Justin knows what he's talking about. He's an experienced woodsman. He's a good guy. He's a great father. And he's an honest man. Is he with flaws? Sure, we all are. But that doesn't mean shit, you know? He's a good guy. He's a stand-up guy. He stands by what he says. He was able to validate many, many things for me. And I was able to go on this journey with him that, yes, he's a good guy and I believe him.
After knowing Justin as long as I have, I do believe he's telling the truth. Mainly because I saw a Bigfoot with him, right? Like, okay, bro, there are Bigfoots in this area, which I didn't doubt, you know? But did you shoot one? You know, I don't know. He's constantly told the same story over and over again. There was all these rumors about him and Sean knowing each other in high school. You know, think what you will about that. But Justin's story's never changed. He had the Bigfoot community was really into this, you know, and they really wanted it to be. And you have a guy who did it but really didn't have no solid evidence of it. I mean, for fuck's sake, Bobo showed up in a damn suit, right? Because he was thinking that when we go up there find the body, and then he's in a suit and a reporter. So I think you had a lot of people wanting it to be, you know, counting your chickens before it was hatched, you know, really wanting that Christmas present, you know. Unfortunately, they didn't get it. But when you look at all the shit that the law enforcement has given Justin over the years about this, like, okay, guys, y'all claim Bigfoot's not real. Okay, so why are you bothering? Why are you bothering Justin? Because you're clearly bothering Justin. You're clearly watching his Facebook, you know, because I am living proof of that you are watching his Facebook. Because damn it, y'all was on that mountain that day when he said he was picking up Megan Fox and Stacy Brown. Y'all wanted to see what was going on. Y'all were trying to ruin everything that man was doing. You don't do that to a guy who's lying. You know, they know he shot at Bigfoot. They know all about it. As for the rest of the stuff, I don't know. But I'll go to my grave believing Justin Smeja actually shot and killed a Bigfoot that day, for whatever that's worth.
My kids watched me be arrested. And we go to church every Sunday. My kids go to a private Christian school. Like, I don't have any issues with the law. I pay my taxes. I've never been in trouble. I have a good credit score. You know, I've never been in bankruptcy. I've never been sued. I've never had any issues with anyone. But when I told everyone what happened, like, a lot of people don't like me. Like, the story, like, best case scenario, like, killed some innocent animals and some young ones at that, and the family. So I've received like a lot of negative feedback. Nothing good has happened. A lot of people think that like I was in this for the money or something. I make plenty of money as an electrician, a lot more than a Bigfoot researcher does. Through doing all this, I lost my ability to hunt and to fish. They put me on probation, saying that I couldn't go into the woods. They were trying to keep me from this. They were trying to keep this quiet. Before this happened, I worked with Fish and Game all the time guiding hunts. Like, I'm a well-known hunter. I got a rap sheet of nothing but positive and good things before this. And then after this, then they try to make me out to be like a poacher or something, but that's just not the case. I have a long history, a career, guide licenses and different things showing that I always follow the rules.
After camping with Justin, I learned that sharing his story has only affected him negatively, which is not something I found out through internet research. In fact, many of the events described in this episode, I only found out by talking to Justin and others who were involved in the whole situation. It's my personal feeling that if Justin were lying about the whole thing, he surely would have given it up by now, 14 years later. But instead, he stands by his story, knowing the full ramifications of what that could mean. Another thing I found out in person is the shocking amount of people who met Justin and had experiences either at the kill site or very close by. The next episode will focus on an event from 2012, which Justin was also present for, and will add another layer of complexity to the mountains of mystery.